Hello, water signs and water spirits. This is Carrie at Wooing Nature. Welcome to the channel again, and welcome to Elements. This is for all of my water sign, water spirited souls and people of planet Earth. So we are talking about those people born under the sign of Cancer or under the sign of Pisces or Scorpio. We're also talking about people who have a lot of planets in water signs in their chart, so they're more watery than not. Or otherwise, we're talking about people who connect emotionally, feeling people, empathic people, those people who are also connected to the spirit through their senses. So those people who are clairsentient, wherever you fit in. All right, so we are talking about or expanding on the conversation that we had about relationships last year. Or not last year. I'm in another... You know, time isn't real, so I may do that sometimes. Anyway, the conversation that we had earlier in the month of February, bringing in February. So for those of you who are keeping up with your signs and wonders for your zodiac sign, we started talking about relationships and relating, how you were relating to the people around you, who's around you that you're relating to, and that kind of thing. So this is just an expansion on that. And this is for the period that falls between the new moon, I keep wanting to say September, the new moon, February 11th, all the way to the new moon, which is in March, and that's March 13th. So this is the time period, the time frame that we're working in, but of course, you know, wherever it fits, that's where it fits. All right, so I am going to be reading to you today from the Alphabet for Lovers. This is Orna Ben Shoshan. I really enjoy her decks, and she has this delightful little heart-shaped deck that I like to work with when we're talking about love and relationships. Now, what she says in her text, and I will be reading from her text as a part of this reading, is that this can show up in any way, even though it may be written more for partnership relationships, romantic relationships, intimate relationships, that kind of thing. It can also be read for other types of relationships. So as I'm reading the text for you, water signs, then just sort of open your mind and listen to the words and see which relationships those particular admonitions or warnings or positive notes, where they fit and where they sit. All right, so I've been pulling a one card for all of the other elements, but for some reason yours came up as two. There were two of these here, so I will read both of them to be obedient. So in this card, it talks about drowning in your own emotions. So for some of you in your relationships, you may feel like the emotions are too much, that they may be more than what you feel like you can handle, or in some way you feel like you're drowning. And then in this one, it talks about going through a spiritual cleansing. So if you have had a relationship where you felt like you were drowning, then it would make sense to me that you might also feel like you need a spiritual bath or a spiritual cleansing if that relationship has ended, or if that relationship has moved on to another phase, okay? So I'm going to read both of these cards, or I'm going to read the text that accompanies these cards for both of them. And like I said, you know, some of this may resonate with some with others, but, you know, just kind of get in where you fit in. All right, so this talks about a relationship being stuck and problematic. This is your one where you're drowning in the emotions. It's stuck and problematic. There's been a lot of suffering caused by conflicting ideologies. So fundamentally, your idea about life, living, being together, relationships, etc., is not shared, okay? You're also not sharing your thoughts and feelings. You may find it difficult to fulfill yourself personally. You feel confused and overwhelmed by the emotions and don't have the power to help you yourself. Sounds like toxicity to me, because anytime your own energy and your own power is diminished in a relationship, then there's something toxic happening and you need to pull away or pull back. You thought that marriage, for some of you, you thought marriage would solve it. It doesn't solve it. Your life is driven by old pains and worries about the future, and you or your partner are not living in the here and now, water folks. Okay? There seems like there's a loss of control and the feeling that things could be stronger and that they're bubbling underneath the surface, but there's complaints and blame and passivity. And somebody waiting for the other person to take the next step. All right. Somebody's in denial. Somebody can't take responsibility and change the situation. And what's causing the suffering is ego. Expectation that your needs are going to be met by the other person. Okay. To resolve the current mess, you should approach the relationship from an opposite and different perspective. In other words, approach it from your partner's standpoint. So try to see it from your partner's standpoint. You need to change your attitude, release the clutter of limiting concepts. Wow, that's powerful. That's considered to be the clutter. It said the clutter of limiting concepts. So when you limit your mind, and you are limiting the possibilities for yourself, or if your partner has a limited purview, then that's considered clutter. So no wonder they're talking about going through a spiritual cleansing, because the spiritual cleansing, the thing that needs to be cleared out is your limiting concepts. For the time being, it says to accept the person for who they are. Let go of your demands and expectations for a little while. Continue to love even when your needs are not being provided, and don't complain. Believe that everything is going to work out, and by doing this, you'll make space for some other powers to act in favor of the relationship. Now, all of that said, if you do not want to be in the relationship, then leave. Okay? So all of that is if you feel like there's a possibility, maybe you're not seeing things as clearly as you think you are. Maybe some of the problems that exist in the relationship do go back to ego, and they usually do. And it may be time to take an ego check. But the main thing is clearing out these limiting thoughts, limiting behaviors, limiting speech, all of that. And that's also going to include limiting each other. So when someone else expresses something that we want to do, that they want to do, and then you come back at them, well, how in the world are you going to do that? Or I don't know if that's going to work. That's limiting. You're limiting the other person. You're limiting their possibilities instead of asking the question differently. Okay. All right. So that's for those people who are in couples. If you are flying solo, if you are single, it says there's a quiet or hidden yearning for someone who does not know about your love, or waiting passively for another party until he initiates the or he, she, or they initiate the contact. How you gonna have a relationship like that? Okay. External constraints do not allow you to get to the person that you love. The current situation demands that you surrender to authority, the Most High, and to act discreetly in order to avoid unnecessary risk. But still, the waters run deep. In the end, you will reach your destination through calm and thorough pursuit, modestly and without exposing your moves, in order to not raise objections along the way. Now, for some of you, I feel like this might be a clandestine relationship that you're in with someone else that now has become overwhelming. And what you're, if you're going through the back door, then you're going to get backdoor experiences. If you go through the front door, then you get front door experiences. And that's really all it is to it. There's no judgment. Everybody loves the way that they love. But if you're having a backdoor experience, then you'll have backdoor experiences to go with them. So again, this is about feeling overwhelmed in a relationship, knowing what you need to do, and conducting yourself accordingly. All right, this next one, this is your spiritual bath. Number 22 comes in with a number 22. So you know. Okay. This is talking about mistakes being made in the past that affect the current relationship in a tangible and painful way for some of you. The desire for success at any price has caused you to go wrong in your personal relationship. Some of you water folks, you're focused on the wrong thing and ignoring your relationship. You were afraid to express your feelings because you fear appearing to be vulnerable, and preferred casual and shallow relationships based on physical desires. So what this does for you is it keeps you from having to emotionally pour yourself into a relationship. For some of you, this is because of hurt and pain in the past. That's what it said. And so because of that, you're dealing with the physical so that you don't get the emotional involved, because you know if you get your emotional self involved, then now you got your feelings going and you're trying to prevent that pain from happening again. In a current relationship, you need to constantly examine the moral values behind your actions and transform them into spiritual practice. Whoa. Okay? Constantly examine the moral values behind your actions. So for every action that you choose in your relationship, this is the cleansing. This is the getting rid of the self-limiting. These are all really great. This is really great advice, whether you're in a relationship or not. It's really good advice. Constantly examine the moral values behind your actions and transform those actions into spiritual practice. I would love to see how that works out for some of you if you try that. A desire develops to open a new page and never again regress into aggressive, violent, or dominant behavior. Okay? And again, that aggressive, dominant behavior is the shield. It's the thing that you put up to keep your heart from being hurt. You guys are water people. You're feeling people. And so feeling people always feel more, or have a tendency to feel even more vulnerable than, either your earth signs or your earth or your air or your fire people. You feel it a little more deeply. And so your protective gear is up, sounds like to me. It says, be extra cautious not to repeat your prior extremism. Okay. The choice is yours. Either be ruled by your emotions and passions that led to downfalls in the past, or go through a spiritual cleansing and rise to greater awareness in your relationships. So it's like the way that you're dealing with your relationships becomes a spiritual practice, becomes a cleansing of the old, becomes an effort to, this is really beautiful, because really what you're talking about is pain from the past and actually exorcising it, exorcising it, and exercising it all at the same time. So when you're in relationship, when you are approaching a relationship, let's say you're one of those people who's protecting by just letting the relationship be transactional or sexual only, or just for the physical, because you don't want to indulge your emotions. Let's say you're one of those individuals. So then when you approach a relationship and it's physical, only physical, then you examine your own feelings behind it. You ask yourself, why are you doing it? Is this really what you want? Is this satisfying you at this time? If it is, the answer is yes. You keep moving safely. And then if not, you keep moving safely. Okay. And then this is a way for you to heal. It's a way for you to express yourself to your partner differently, very differently, because the conversation becomes very different when you are doing some level of self-examination, cleansing, and healing. The conversation can be different. The way you approach the conversation can be different. And then that's when you start to see some changes. It says that putting the emphasis on being considerate with others and include your heart and emotions in your relationships is a good idea. An honest decision is made, your vitality is renewed, your strength is recovered, and the relationship will change for the better. Expansion of family is expected, and you will gain confidence that together you can overcome all obstacles. So, whatever challenges this is, challenges are being presented here. It is for a deep level of healing, not just on your part, water people, but also on the part of your partners as well. So both of you will be able to experience this cleansing. That's a very, very powerful exercise, and I'm thankful for that. That's a message not just for water people, but for a lot of people. If you are single, it says a positive departure from a problematic relationship, and you're obtaining important lessons. So this may be your cleansing for those of you who are recently single. It's cleansing, it's removing the old, moving on from a problematic relationship and getting the lessons from it. Your health and vitality are bursting from a positive romance and good timing. Okay, so it's good you got out of the relationship when you did, because now it's giving you time to cleanse, heal, and prepare for the next one. A significant change in your life is arriving regarding residence, employment. This is different. Residence, employment, and a good relationship. A new contact is evolving toward marriage and raising a family. So if those of you who are interested in that, there's a possibility for that for you, water signs. So very great reading. Very, very great reading. All right. So since we're talking about relationships and we are talking about, sorry about that. Since we're talking about relationships and we are also talking about relating and you're talking about, you specifically water folks, you're talking about either coming out of a relationship and cleansing from that, or cleansing some old karmic debt, sounds like to me, through a loving relationship that you're in already. It's getting past the emotional overwhelm, especially if things are not going well in the relationship. So we are talking about achieving balance in your relationship. We're talking about being able to express yourself freely with your significant other. And of course, we cannot talk about relationships without talking about boundaries, because all relationships need boundaries. So I'm getting ready to read from the Zillich Tarot. This is just so that we can talk to water people about balancing their relationships, what to do to balance the relationship, what to do about expression, communication, being able to express yourself freely, and then, of course, boundaries. So we have the Lovers coming in reverse. So again, because of these emotionally alarming, emotionally triggering for some of you, because some of you are dealing with past hurts, past love experiences that have made you put your guard up, then the love here is coming in reverse. By coming in reverse, for me, it just means that either you may be blocked or there may be some sort of barrier. I feel like it's more than likely defense mechanisms because of the pain and the hurt. Okay? Knowing is half the battle, right? After you know something, then you can fix it. All right, so we have the Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups is the epitome of giving in a love relationship, you know. It is female. It is receptive. This really gives us the feeling of nurturing. This gives us the water. Cups is water. So the nurturing part of the relationship, the expression of love in a relationship, the free flowing of the expression of how you feel, and not just the bad feelings, but the good feelings too, because sometimes we are always expressing what we don't like, but we're not expressing the part that we do. We're not expressing how we truly feel about the other person that we're with. A lot of times we don't take the time for that. It may be like what you're not giving or what you're not doing, but when do you take the moment to say to your partner, I really, without you in my life, I really don't know how I would get this done. I really appreciate your support. I really appreciate your laughter and the way that you make me feel when I'm down. Things like that is being able to share, or any other form of expressing your love, because it doesn't have to always be in the form of the words I love you. It doesn't always have to be in the form of something given, but it could be in the form of something given. It could be a meal. It could be a gift. Just however you choose to show love toward the other person, and also in a way that they can understand it, because sometimes we give in love in a way that other people can't understand. And then we feel like, well, what's wrong with you? I'm cooking and cleaning for you all the time. Don't you know I love you? And like, well, I just want to watch a movie. Okay. All right, so we have here the Prince of Disc in reverse in the upright position. I really like this because this is very Taurian to me. This is very forceful. This is like putting your bull horns out front. If any of you have a Taurian nature, then it's being trumped up when it happens when you're in this relationship, and that's coming in with the Hangman in the upright position. So I feel like this part of you is the part that you got to let go of. You've got to your brutish nature that you can display in all its regalia, because it's quite colorful here. It's quite colorful, the way that you create these defense mechanisms for yourself. It's quite colorful. I mean, at least you're creative with it. But the thing of it is still, either way, it needs to be released. It needs to be let go of, because, again, that's your defense. Everybody has it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But you just got to know when to put the bull in the stall, and then when to take the bull out the stall. Ow. All right, so we got this Five of Disc here. Five of Disc. It's concern, it's worry, it's sitting and waiting for the other shoe to drop, being uncomfortable in your position, feeling like you're always something is raining on your parade. That's that overwhelming of emotions. That's what that is. It's plain and simple. That's the rain, like, oh, the rain is falling on my head, and I, can't, see, and, all of this other kind of stuff. That's your overwhelm emotions going on. So the Justice says it's time to bring that out of the shadow, bring it into the light. It's time to communicate with your partner about it. It's time to have discussions about those kinds of things. And you need to use some strategies when it's time to communicate this, because we don't want to, when your emotions are high, is not the time to necessarily communicate about it. I'm going to say when the emotions are high would be the time for you to go in and really examine, journal, write this out, really flesh it out, away from the partnership. And then once you get a handle on it and you really understand what's going on in you, and you see the dynamic a little more clearly, and away from being just emotionally angry or frustrated or sad or, depressed or whatever, you can really talk about it logically and rationally, which always helps to me when you're having to discuss with another person issues and problems that you may be having with them. So this is about you really knowing how you're pushing back, understanding your defense mechanisms, and understanding them as the boundaries that you've put up in your relationships. Now, there's one thing to have boundaries in the relationship, and then there's it's another thing to have blockades and walls and shields and bucklers, because all of that is about protecting oneself from harm. So if you feel like the person that you're with is going to harm you, then you shouldn't be with that person. And that's why it's important for you to do the self-examination, because it could be that the person isn't really harming you, but it's just your painful past that's making you look for all the clues that this person is harming you, and then you go and you put up your defense mechanisms and your walls and your blocks and your blockades. All right, anything else for my water people in managing their relationships here? All right, so we've got the Three of Cups here. So this is the beginning of something positive. This is the formation of something meaningful. This is you with all of your beauty and all of your talent and all of your gifts, and the other person with their beauty and their talent and their gifts, and you're engaging each other through that and not through the past pain and not through the negative aspects of the self, okay? It's really sharing who you are and what you come with, the great parts of what you come with, and seeing the great parts in the other person, and being able to communicate that with them. So once you get a handle on this, this is the Two of Pentacles. Once you really get a practical handle on this, then I see you being able to move through the difficulty, you know, the part that scares you, the part that scares you, okay? But also the part that's going to transform you is what I'm seeing here. So the part that scares you is the part that's actually going to transform you, water people, in your relationship. It's going to transform your ability to relate. And with this Emperor, it's also going to give you a chance to establish a new relationship standard for yourself. Okay. I've been getting that a lot in people's personal readings, where new rules have to be established in your life because you're changing. We've just gone through ascension. Some people are doing expansions of the ascension because they've already gone through the ascension process ahead of time. So now they're on to the expansion phase. And so because of that, there has to be a new structure for your life, because your old structure is not going to fit with your new paradigm. And you're going to notice this because every time you try to do stuff the old way, it's not going to work for you. And you're going to be like, you know what? I used to do this and this used to work. I used to do this. This work. It don't work no more. So now it's time to release, let go of, okay? And move on, and then start to pay attention to the new rules and follow those. Anything else with water? Anything else for water? All right, and so there's the love pouring in. There's the love pouring in. So this is just giving you the layout here. It's learning how to give love again, okay, from your heart space. It is letting go of your defense mechanisms and the walls that you're putting up, or the barriers that you're putting up in your relationship. It's dealing with the pain of the past and coming out of the shadow of it and bringing that, letting that pain transform you into light in your relationships. And then there is letting go of the fear and being able to really give to the other person from your abundant place, from your gift place, from what you've been gifted with. And then that's when the love pours in, and that's when you're able to establish a new framework of relating for yourself. So that is how to balance. That is the balance message for you, where you feel like you need to do that deep inner work and then come out on the other side of it for you and your partner. It would be very beneficial to you, water people, at this time. So this has been your elements reading, your relationship extension for the month. This is for the new moon. So we're in the new moon period right now, between new moon, September. I will do it every time. I'll do it every time. February 11th through March 13th. If you would like to take a deeper dive and look at all points of your life, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, see where you need to go, see where your next steps are, we can do that for you. If you would like to get a relationship reading, you can reach out to me at Kerri, Kerri, at wooingnature.life to set up an appointment for that. And then I also want to let you know that we do have another arm that we deal specifically with relationships, called the Relationship Map. So for those of you, and this is whether you are single or whether you're in a relationship, a long-term partnership, or that kind of thing, and you're having issues and difficulties and you want to approach it intuitively, either yourself or you and your partner, you can go through the Relationship Map. We do take you through that as well. Oh, I forgot to give you all your questions. All right, so I am going to pull some questions. This is the and deck, and this is a part of a greater project called the Skin Deep. Please look them up. They have created these wonderful decks of cards. Some of them are for families, some of them are for couples, some are for co-workers, some are for strangers, but they're questions, and the idea is that you ask these questions of a significant other while you are face-to-face, and then the other person asks you the same question back, and then you use this as a way to open doorways of communications. If those of you who might be having a little trouble getting the communication started in your relationship and you just need something to spark it, then I want to share those with you. So I've been pulling 4 cards for every element. And you can ask your partner any or all of these, or some of them, whichever ones you feel brave and want to share with them. And the first question is, why do you trust me? Why do you trust me? The second question, what would you be doing differently if we weren't together? What would you be doing differently if we weren't together? In which moments do you not trust me? In which moments do you not trust me? And then here's the last one. Why do you think your work is more important than mine? Or you could be, do you think that your work is more important than mine? So it's just some questions for you to throw out there. For some of you, some might be like, yeah, I'm definitely going to ask that question. Some of you may be like, I'm not.